Okay, so the first appointment for today is one of our pond subscription clients.
Okay.
They have some fish in quarantine that they would like you to check before adding to the main pond, make sure there's no disease before going into the healthy pond.
Right. How long have they been in quarantine for?
They've been in quarantine. This is week 4 now. Temperature around 60 degrees.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Sounds good. All right. So from that information for today, we essentially have 2 ponds of fish. So we're going to start with the established population pond, do water quality testing, see where that's at, make sure all the fish that he's already have are still healthy. And then we're going to switch out our equipment and switch to the quarantine fish. So these are the new fish that have been added. Likely not going to go in today. We want to make sure that they're healthy, so we're going to hopefully send off some viral testing with the owner's permission. It's going to take us a couple days to get that back. But same thing as the main pond, we want to check the water chemistry. Since it is a newer system, hopefully they've been doing some water changes, just because without the filtration actually being established, you can have some issues with your ammonia and your nitrite before it converts over to nitrate. So then we'll pull a couple of those kids out and see what's going on. And for the viral testing, I'm essentially going to grab little pieces of all their gills. We're going to bottle it up and ship it on ice up to our facility. Again, hopefully the owner will agree to that. And that will just make sure that these kids are 100% healthy to move into the big pond. Because if the little kids bring a virus into the big pond, it could result in me having to euthanize all those fish, which I really, really don't want to do. So that's the plan for today. We got another 5 minutes till we get there, and then I'm going to be doing my water quality testing pretty much every time I'm going out to see a pond, especially if I haven't seen it in 6 months. But as I'm testing the water, it really gives me a good opportunity to kind of watch the fish and see what they're doing. Obviously, before I'm sticking my net in the water and scaring them. From this, I'm able to kind of watch everyone swim, make sure they're all coming up in a group. If there's anyone that's isolating, they're all hanging out at the feeder right now, which again is a good sign that everything is normal. But I like taking this opportunity while I'm just sitting here to be sure to watch everybody when I have the time. So this pond actually does have a back history of some water quality issues. Happened when the owner had been out of town for a while, and just there was some miscommunication. Then the water changes weren't being done. So came out and tested the pH, and it was super low. We're talking like in the 6s, where today it's actually where it's supposed to be up in the mid to high 7s. And there were absolutely no signs that the water had gotten that low. Basically, it was just a recheck of the fish that had a parasite. We just wanted to make sure the medication worked. So it was by complete coincidence that I was here and tested. But a lot of those changes with your water chemistry, you're not going to see anything. And if you're not familiar with your fish's behavior, you might not know that anything's going on at all. So highly recommend testing your water chemistry at least once a month, just to make sure you can catch things before they get worse. Alright, so you saw me use this in one of my other videos, but this is my seine net, and this is my really deep seine net. See, it's about 8 feet tall. It's got these floats on the top and weights on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this end and then slowly scooch it over, and that way all the fish get pushed up to the other end of the pond. It'll be a lot easier for me to catch them rather than having to take this entire net off. One. Alright, that was pretty serious. I think that's a record. They must know that this is being filmed so Dad can see them. All right, so luckily we caught the smallest fish in the pond because some of these fish are really big and they're actually going to be a little tight in my tub. So this little, looks like a girl, doing ultrasound in a minute. They're just getting their spring health checkup, so we're going to take some skin, mucus, and gill samples and look at them under the microscope. Very nice example of a Doitsu koi, so you can see she's got a couple scales here, but most of her body doesn't have any scales, and this is just a normal genetic variant of the fish. Looking pretty good overall. As part of their just general health exam, we will pop the ultrasound on there, confirm sex, and we'll see if they're finding anything else. So everything in the main pond checks out okay. So now we have these free fish. They've been in quarantine here for about 4 weeks. We're going to check the water quality on them. That will kind of give us an idea if they are getting ready to move out of here. We're going to give them the same physical exams that we usually do. The big fish is going to be a little bit different. Since she's so big, we might have to do this one without sedation, but I do have practice with that. So we're going to start with the water quality.
Go ahead.
So this is the pH of our quarantine pond, and thankfully it matches our main pond exactly. So whenever you're getting ready to move fish, it's really important that you match your pH and temperature. That will lead to the least amount of stress when they're being introduced to a new environment. So far checks out okay. Alright, so unfortunately this is our ammonia reading. This has a lovely little dial that you can kind of pull back and forth to match it up. So again, we should have this at 0, which this is obviously not. So unfortunately this is a point in favor in moving them into the pond, but I'd still rather do some viral testing to be absolutely sure before we move them. So this is why it's really important to get your fish physical exams every year. From the top, this Tancho seems fairly unremarkable, but when we roll her over, she's got some pretty nasty little ulcerations or bruises, not quite sure right now. She is in the quarantine pond that doesn't have great water chemistry, so this might just be from hitting something. She might be itching. It's unlikely this is primarily from the secondary, from the poor water quality, but it could just be stressing her out. So we're gonna get her cleaned up, probably started on some antibiotics, and see if there's anything on her microscope samples. So the last fish in our quarantine pond is too big to go into our exam tub, so I'm going to attempt to give her a physical exam in this tub. From what I have dealt with, koi kind of enter a little tonic immobility when they go upside down. So we're going to try to just flip her over really fast and do our exam from there. I can already tell from here she's got a couple scales that are kind of poking out, so she might be like what this little Toncho had, having the ulcers underneath her. So we really need to check her underside, and then I'll do all her sampling from there, but she's not going to be happy about it. All right, so yeah, just keep it moving.